There is nothing weirder than a dude who is bald and has a clean face.
Why you do my...
Right here, baby. Right here. It's not that weird, I don't think, but maybe he thinks that's weird. I'd love to see his comment on my channel. We're gonna do a reaction video to We're Balding, and That's Okay, by the Trash Taste podcast.
And it was like, it's about Blue's Clues, believe it or not.
Blues Clues?
And trust me, this is relate back to the topic.
Okay.
Right, so, did you watch Blue's Clues when you were growing up?
Of course. What's Blues Clues?
Were all these like toys on their desk and around them? I guess they're into like anime, right?
Alright, so Blue's Clues is this TV show, and it was basically this guy who was like talking to the camera, kind of like Dora style. I think they had
Oh yeah, that's like not very popular. Blue's Clues, my daughter doesn't watch that.
This is where it started, this kind of style. And maybe it didn't.
It used to be popular.
No, but it's definitely popularized.
Yeah, popularized it.
Where there would be like a task, and there was this, a notebook, and they'd have to do X amount of tasks. It was a really good show, actually.
I like the subtle YouTube button in the background. I see it.
And there was a dog called Blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the dog would help Steve?
Steve, yeah.
Steve find all the clues.
Right.
And yeah, so I always wondered, I was like, why did he stop doing it? Because if you watch the show, he basically swaps halfway through the show.
Initial thought is that they seem to have great hair, so we'll see what they complain about here.
With another actor. I thought, oh, that's weird. Why did that happen? So it turns out that he was losing his hair, and that he didn't want to like go bald on like TV. Right?
Okay.
Right. So, and then I was like, that hit me. I was like, oh my God. Because like, I mean, okay, there's like tons of comments about it, and it's like, it's frustrating because like, I don't really give a shit anymore. Like I've gotten over it, but like, unfortunately, my dad did not give me a lucky dice roll with my genetics, and I am going bald eventually. It's going to happen. And obviously it's been happening a little.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are predisposed to male pattern hair loss, and if you do nothing about it and you're seeing signs of it at an early age, then sure, you're probably going to end up close to bald, if not bald. But luckily, there are certain things that you can do about it if you want to. And we talk about that on this channel. And it typically starts with medical therapy early on. And sometimes hair transplants can be a nice adjunct in the right situations.
A little bit. And it's so frustrating that people will like go to other videos and be like, Connor, did you know you're balding? And I'm like,
They keep pointing it out.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish that people focused more on like the content of what we're talking about as opposed to like our appearance. But I think that's part of being on video and being out there, in the public eye. So I'm not surprised that people went back to his other videos and noticed some trends and maybe that he was starting to lose some hair.
And it's so frustrating because the thing that bothers me is that like, again, like I fully accepted that it's happening. I know people are going to be like, have you tried doing this? Have you tried doing voodoo? And it's like, yes.
Try doing voodoo.
It's like,
try doing voodoo. We try to point out on this channel things that actually have been tested, in the literature and on many, many patients that actually work for the majority of people who try them, as opposed to like, the voodoo. So that's really the focus of our channel when it comes to hair restoration. But yeah, there definitely is plenty of voodoo out there. And unfortunately, you get people in like a vulnerable state and they'll just buy anything to try to improve the situation. But oftentimes it's not something that's really been substantiated by solid research or solid track record of efficacy.
it's like, because people are always like, hey,
just try wishing the balding.
Because people
away.
are always like, hey man, just take these drugs, do these things. It's like, yeah, okay, I've honestly like done all that, tried all that.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, like I can't do surgery either, so whatever. And so I just kind of...
So he's not specifying why he cannot do surgery. Is it cost? Is it that he was told that he was not a candidate? Is it that he has some medical conditions that make it so that he's not able to get an elective procedure? I mean, all those things are possible. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's really tried the proper medical therapies that we discuss on the channel. Finasteride, minoxidil, laser light, PRP, microneedling. There's a high likelihood that at least some combination of those 5 things will be useful for him to try for an extended period of time. A lot of times people will try these medical therapies for a few weeks and then give up. That's not how it works. You have to give it at least 3 to 6 months to see if it's doing something. And occasionally that something is just reducing further loss. It's not always that you're going to see your hair get a lot more dense. But you might find that you're shedding less. And so that is still a win for many people.
got to the point where I was like, all right, I think I've tried enough things where I'm like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But it can't really do much about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of got over it, but it's really frustrating, like I said, when people go,
Maybe he had some side effects from some of the medical therapies and decided not to continue on them. That is also something that I will sometimes hear from patients.
other videos would be like, bro, you're balding. And it's like,
Yeah.
I am aware, but it's frustrating that sometimes I have to like edit videos differently. Cause it's like, all right, if I don't edit this part out, people are going to comment about this instead of the fucking video.
And only comment about that.
Yeah,
Right?
because it's like, I just want to.
Yeah, I can totally hear his frustration. It's like you don't want to have to film a video a certain way or edit a video later just because of how you looked in a certain segment. Because again, like that's not the focus of their channel. You know, it's not about how they look. They're trying to just discuss whatever it is, anime or whatever they like to talk about. And they want people to focus on that and not, you know, the appearance. But, you know, we live in a time when, the appearance still matters to a degree. And I think a lot of it boils down to like, can you own it? You know, can you look a certain way and just be okay with it? And then basically transfer that acceptance to the rest of the viewers, you know, so that they are not judging and they instead accept you for who you are. I mean, I think that's a really important translation.
It's like I just want to focus on the video, and it's so frustrating that people feel the need to point it out.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, why? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
Some people are just cruel. I mean, that's just like, you know, some people's nature. So, you know, they're going to be on YouTube, but they're also going to be walking around. I still like to think that most people are very positive and nice. And that's the feedback that we've gotten on the channel, mostly very positive things. But of course, every day there's some people who say something that can be construed as mean or ill-intentioned. And that's just human nature to a degree.
Because I too have not been the luckiest with my gene pool. So like literally,
Joey, I envy your perfect hair.
so pretty much everyone on my dad's side who's a male.
Yeah,
is bald,
same.
right?
Yeah, it's kind of sucks.
And it's something that I knew was always going to.
Sometimes the male pattern traits get passed down more from the mother's side. It's not always from the dad's side. So there are some families where, you know, the guys, the dad, the uncle, they have plenty of hair, and then the mom has some hair loss issues, and then the son or the daughter will inherit more of the mom's side of the male pattern or female pattern hair loss, and that's very possible too. As I talk about in other videos, the genetics of hair loss for androgenic alopecia are complex. You know, they're much more complex than we currently understand.
to happen.
We don't think it's gonna happen.
I mean,
Yeah.
like as like when you're a teenager, you're just
like,
I'm the exception.
Yeah, because your hair's like when you're like 18, your hair's like,
It's lush.
Yeah.
fuck, man, my hair's so
it's
thick.
thick as fuck, and I'm just like, you think I'm the exception to the
Yeah.
rule. And I remember, I've seen like my entire family on my dad's side, everyone's bald. So I asked my dad, I've seen like pictures of my dad when he was young, and he had hair down to here, man. He was
Forehead drip.
yeah. But yeah, he had a fucking luscious lock of hair.
Yeah.
And I saw what it looks like now, and I'm just like, so Dad, when did you start losing your hair? Just out of curiosity. So just so I can take a look at my own hair. And he goes, I guess late 20, 30-year-old. And I asked this when I was 28. I was like, Dad, why did you not tell me earlier?
Bro.
For sakes. Yo.
Well, I would say that's probably the most common time to lose hair. Now, I have some people in my practice who have pretty advanced male pattern loss much earlier. So when they're 16, 17, 18, they're losing hair in a very significant way. So some of them end up as Norwood 7s at like 19 years old. But that is not common. Usually it's into, late 20s, early 30s that you're going to experience the majority of the loss. So what he's describing here is a very common phenomenon for when you lose your hair. Now, some people start to lose hair more like later on in their late 30s, 40s, but that's definitely less common, and that's usually a less aggressive type of male pattern loss.
This is like I had a feeling like it's probably gonna happen to me, right? But like I didn't like quite know, but then I realized, okay, my older brother, who's like 10 years older than me, was going bald, and I was like, oh shit. Starting to sweat a little bit.
Right.
You're like,
You've seen a prior example.
Yeah, and like you know what? I totally get why kids think it's funny to like mock hairlines, because you just think like it's never gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
Bro, I've got hair. My hair's fucking luscious right now. It's never gonna happen. But it does.
Oh yeah, of course.
Listen, I think when we're young, we think we're invisible and can't be touched, and that everything's going to be just perfect forever. And then we quickly learn that that's not the case. And I think hair loss is one of the first things that we experience where it's like, oh man, like I am, mortal. Like all things eventually come to an end, including a great hairline. And so I think that's what worries people on a more subconscious level than they even realize.
Oh yeah, of course.
What is it like? Fucking 2 out of 3, especially if you're white. I think 2 out of 3 men get like some signs of hair loss or whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I thought, okay, if it happens to me at 30, no biggie.
Yeah.
No biggie. It's by then I'll probably be chilling out. I'll be settling down. When I was like 21 or like 20, I started to notice just a little bit. It's getting a little bit thin, and I'm like,
Right.
what's going on up there, huh? Better put a time out to that. So even when I was like 20, I started like trying to do things to like help it. It was, doing those like, taking it, all the fucking FDA approved, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, for some people,
Just the review here, the FDA approved stuff that he's talking about is going to be oral finasteride, which goes by the brand name of Propecia, and also minoxidil as a topical formulation.
some people, it is purely just genetics.
You can't
and
fight
you're-
the
and you're-
genetics.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
fucked. Like
Yeah.
some people, that helps. And like, you do a lot of research, you look into it. Some guys, you might be in a place where maybe the building you're living in has like really bad case of like damp or something that's with your hair. or something.
Right.
So there's some people who, their living conditions are the reason why they're losing their hair. But
Yeah.
no, unfortunately.
I mean, there's lots of things that can lead to hair loss, but the most common is that genetic predisposition to androgenic alopecia. Now, there are environmental triggers that can make it worse or accelerate the loss. Things like stress, things potentially like different allergens in the environment. Who knows? There's a lot of things we don't know. But surely stress can be an accelerator, along with certain dietary things as well. So he's definitely has a good point here.
Unfortunately, as much as I wished I could do something about it, it was just kind of like whatever. And it's I guess the main reason why I just thought, I'll just talk about it, because it's like I've gotten to the point now where I just
I still think he has great hair, so I wonder if he's on a regimen now or if he found something that's working for him, because it looks to me like his hair overall looks great.
give a
People are
fuck.
pointing out anyway.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's,
people point it out.
it's like it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
I feel like if we just say something,
Yeah, if I
people
s-
can at least be
Especially with a
courteous
growing
about it.
audience, right? Like newcomers
Yeah.
are going to come into being like, oh, this is the inside meme? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll add on to it for the millionth time.
Yeah, because it's like, unfortunately, it's just kind of a thing of like, it's just something that I can't really do anything about, and unfortunately, people are going to see it, because I'm not unfortunately.
You're not gonna wear a hat every
Yeah,
day.
my videos aren't just me statically in front of the camera, never moving my head. So it's like
Hey
I'm gonna
guys,
do it.
you can't go anything further than like a 90-degree angle,
Yeah.
otherwise that's a red zone.
Yeah, and it was like, so when I dyed my hair blonde, it wasn't that bad because my scalp is like really,
White.
really
Yeah.
white, so it didn't look that bad.
Yeah.
But it's when it starts to go brown and certain lighting, like especially studio lighting,
Yeah.
fucking reflects that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where it doesn't look too bad, if you look at me like normally in like video where the lighting is washed out, it looks fucking awful.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah, it takes about like a 50% of overall hair density reduction to start to see that obvious thinning. And that's why it creeps up on people, because they might have a 20% reduction and they really don't notice it. But after about 50% of loss, you really start to notice it. And so again, with this gentleman here, I mean, I think that he overall has really nice, strong volume. So I don't know, I'd have to look back at other videos to see what he's talking about with like the way the light reflects and all of that. He also has a light that's like directly over his head. So of course, that's going to increase the potential that you'll see a contrast between the lighter scalp and the darker hairs. But even so, I mean, he has such a strong hairline that I can't imagine people commenting on this in a negative way.
and it's like when I see it on video, I'm like, that bad? I check it, I'm like, oh, it's not too bad. Like it's whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty much at peace with it, and I'll probably shave it at some point because I kind of want to see how it look.
Yeah, I reckon you could.
I mean, look, he does have some corner recession, right? I'd probably put him at like a Norwood 2. And you can see that he's taking some of the side hairs here from the temple, and he's basically like swinging them over to cover up the corners. And as we talk a lot about celebrities and their hair loss, that's a very common thing to do to make it seem like there's more hair in the corners. But other than that minimal recession, he really does have excellent hair. So I don't really see what the problem is at all.
You can
I'll
rock
be
you could
that
rock.
guy.
You
But
could rock the
see,
rock the
like
ball
you
look.
have you lucked out though in that regards, because the one thing, no, like the one thing is like, you know, like the fact that you've already accepted that you're probably gonna go bald and that you're probably gonna shave it.
Whatever.
But at least the good thing is that you can grow a beard.
Yeah, true.
There is nothing weirder than a dude who is bald and has a clean face.
Why you do my
Right here, baby. Right here. It's not that weird, I don't think, but maybe he thinks that's weird. I'd love to see his comment on my channel. We'll see. But look, I think at the end of it all, you just have to accept yourself first and foremost. If you can't accept yourself, how do you expect other people to accept you? Not gonna happen. Though my mustache is coming back, I had to shave it, which is kind of an inconvenience now.
A beard on a bald guy, usually 9 times out of 10 looks great.
Yeah,
Like,
true,
you look hard as do that.
I appreciate you trying to gas me up here, Jay.
Yeah.
No, but like that's what. But like it's weird because like, you know, you said like, you know, oh, I'm jealous of you, Joey, but like I actually had the opposite because like
I have too much hair.
I have too much hair. Wow, what a problem, guys.
Poor guy.
No, hear me out. Because like your entire dad's side, right? Is you said
dude,
was
they're like, I think my dad was bald at like 20.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
I have
see,
no idea.
my mom's side is exactly the same because
Really?
my granddad went bald at like 24.
Oh,
Right.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
crap.
so for the longest time in my like early 20s, my mom and my sister would just egg me on, being like, when are you gonna get that hair? Like, you better enjoy that hair while you still have it on your head, boy. And I'm
that hairline's receding a bit.
The genetics are complex, like I said.
Receding a bit.
yeah, and like I would like, I remember when I was like 18, I like asked my
Yeah.
granddad, being like, how old were you when you like started to go bald? And he was
Yeah.
like, oh, like 23. And I was like, that's like 5 years for me.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
obviously, at that point I was like, look, if
Yeah.
I go bald, it, I'll just accept it. You know, like
Yeah.
I rather
Yeah,
just
I mean-
like shave it all off than like leave it half-assed, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah, sometimes it's best to go all or nothing. And that's what I find people tend to accept the most. So, you know, just either shave it all off if it's not working for you, or try to do something to get it back. And that's where the medical therapies and, you know, the surgeries come in. So, yeah, when you're stuck in between, that's often not the best place to be.
just like.
The more I thought about it, and the more, because I can't actually get any surgery even though I wanted to, because I have like a blood condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more
See, that's interesting. So that goes back to what I was saying towards the beginning of this reaction, is that, you know, he seems like has considered a surgery, but he's not able to because of some pre-existing conditions. He said something about a blood condition. So that's interesting because, you know, we don't focus enough on like comorbidities and conditions or medications that people might be on that make them not a great candidate for an elective surgery. Forget about just a hair transplant, but any kind of cosmetic or elective procedure. And that's definitely an interesting topic of discussion. And we can speculate on what the blood condition could be, but, you know, I'll do that now. So first of all, if you have very thin blood, right? So there are different conditions, different hemophilias that create a thinness to the blood, and certain types of conditions that actually people get placed on blood thinners for. That type of situation can be dangerous for a hair transplant because during surgery there could be blood loss, and you want to make sure that that's safe for the individual. If their blood is very thin, then that creates a potential problem for when you're doing an all-day procedure and they're just losing a lot of blood. Usually it's still okay if the overall procedure is done safely, but that definitely can be a contraindication to surgery in some situations, especially if the person's on a blood thinner that they can't stop. That's not a situation where you want to just go ahead and do surgery. And this is also why you know, I get a medical history when I do consultations with patients, which again surprises me when you know, patients tell me, oh, well, I did a consult with another clinic and they had a consultant talk to me, and the consultant oftentimes doesn't know how to get a proper medical history. And so how are you going to schedule a patient for surgery if you haven't even asked them about their medical conditions to determine if they're even a candidate for elective surgery? Now, other blood conditions could be like, you know, some people have blood cancer, right? So you can have leukemia, lymphoma, other types of clotting disorders, and all of that could potentially be a contraindication to doing an elective hair transplant. So again, I'm happy that he brought this up as you know, a point of discussion and something that we don't often think about. You know, it's not just like choosing hair transplant or no hair transplant, or how many grafts and all that. We get like, tunnel visioned into those questions, and we forget about the big question, which is someone even eligible for surgery? And sometimes, like, you go see a doctor and you take it for granted that they've already determined that on their end, that this should be something that's hopefully overall safe. Because again, safety first. All the aesthetic stuff is secondary. If you can't safely get someone through surgery, you shouldn't do it in the first place.
Thought about it, I was like, do I really want to just desperately cling on to this? Like, at the end of the day, I was like, I don't really think I give that much for where I think I need my hair to function.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'll still be fine without it. Like,
Right, that's the thing, right? It's like people, like, I don't understand why people are so...
People make it seem like if you lose your hair, it's gone. Because it's like a bald person, right?
Right.
I sleep.
Right.
Someone with full hair, I sleep. Balding, free real estate for bullying.
Comb over. Comb over
is where it's at.
Yeah,
But like,
I don't know. Because I feel like people just want to have, like, at least some comments out there feel like they need to have like a one-up on you. They need to feel like they can mock you in some way.
But like, but they keep mentioning it like as if if you lose your hair, you're not funny anymore.
Yeah,
like
since when was making fun of like something to do with like genetics like a slam dunk? To me, I was like,
it's like you take the piss out of someone's look. No, too far. Balding.
it's like,
free real estate.
it's not bullying.
Like it's the same thing. You're taking the piss out of what someone was born.
Yeah, sometimes people act like hair is sort of this less serious thing. I do agree with that, and it's not. I mean, it is very serious, especially when it comes to a person's like overall aesthetic. The hair helps frame your face, and it's a big deal. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd still want to have my hair, and we talk about this on my video related to Olumiant and JAK inhibitors, which is the way to treat my condition. My condition is not androgenic alopecia, it's alopecia areata, as most of you know. And in a way, I do have a choice. And I discuss that choice in that video, so make sure to check that out. But it is interesting to think about, how much of it comes down to choice and how much of it comes down to just like the way things happen.
Someone was born with.
Right.
But like I do notice, like, as someone who went through the phase of like just accepting that they were balding, you do go through that 5 stages.
You do. There is like the first few, I think, year or two when it's happening. You're like, no, I can reverse this. I can reverse this.
The 5 stages of balding.
Yeah. I mean, I think you do, right? To any guys out
5
there.
5 stages of acceptance.
Yeah.
First is like you. What's the word I'm looking for? It's
denial.
First stage is denial. It's always denial. It's always denial.
No.
And I'm sure this conversation probably hits quite close to home to a lot of our viewers because our audience is mainly dudes.
Yeah.
If it is happening to you, don't give a man. It's whatever.
Just whatever.
You'll rock
it. I mean, you can do whatever.
I like this message, that it's just like what it is, and you can accept it. Now, some people aren't able to do that, and the bullying that they're talking about happens not just like through the video screen, but it can happen in real life to someone. So it could affect how they're viewed in their jobs. It could affect their ability to find a mate, at least in their perception of that. But also beyond perception, it's like it's actually happening to a degree. And now, of course, they could have a great job still, and of course, they can still find someone who loves them. But for some people, it does become more challenging. So there is that reality, and some people will choose to do something about it. But I think what these guys are saying is also great, that if you did nothing and just accepted it, that things would still be fine, and high likelihood that they would be. Also to mention here, they mentioned like, oh, this is about most of their subscribers are guys, but hair loss happens to women too all the time, and I would say that it's underappreciated in women. And so with some of our videos, we tried to highlight specifically women's hair loss, and some of the treatments are the same, some of the treatments are a little bit different. So it is different in part, even though the genetic underpinning is similar, but the manifestations can be a little bit different, and they need to be treated properly. So that is something worth mentioning here, because when you watch this and you watch my reaction, it seems like, oh, it's only happening to guys, but that's not true.
It's not like society fucking rejects you.
Yeah, because
you're bald.
I feel like some people.
I bring up these studies from Johns Hopkins about looking at how people are viewed, perception to appearances, and they've done a study on facelift, rhinoplasty, hair transplant, and have shown people before and afters and figured out like what's their overall perception of the individual as far as attractiveness, as far as how successful they are in their life. And surely the people with more hair, or the people with like, you know, the nicer nose or the more lifted face are sort of viewed by the population, the general population, as being more successful, more attractive, and that could have real world manifestations. So it's not to say that all this stuff with aesthetics is BS, because there are some manifestations and real implications of it. But I still think that they make a great point that, you know, accepting yourself is where it all begins, and that is the most important thing.
People are, you know, I for one, I have been bald before, and I do.
You rocked it, man.
Yeah, but I do like my hair, and you know, I am putting in steps to, you know, I don't expect to keep this forever, but I would like to elongate.
So when he says he's been bald before, maybe he means he shaved his head, because it doesn't look like he necessarily had a surgery done, but I'm not really sure what his, you know, background with this hair is.
For as long as I can, you know,
me too.
I'm self-aware enough to know that, you know, once it's past the point, all right,
once
I
it's
gotta
gone too
accept
far,
it.
it's gone.
But
I'm
at least
shaving it.
right now, when I still have this hair, I'm gonna be like, okay, you know, I'm gonna lose this eventually.
Yeah.
But I am going to try and do my best at this point to just keep it, and I don't think there's anything particularly wrong about it. There's not.
Yeah, so he's highlighting another option, right? Which is like, look, I have some hair and I want to preserve it, and that, again, that's where medical therapy comes in, and transplant, remember, is like an augmentation to the stabilization that must occur first with medical therapy. And so he brings up a good point, basically a different camp, which is to say that, hey, like, let me try to do as much as I can to preserve what I have. I'm not going to be desperate about it. I'm not going to go to any extreme measures, but I'm going to do my best. And so a lot of people fall into this camp.
nothing particularly wrong with either direction that you go to, you know, right? I think it's more just, you know, some people, I like the feeling of having hair. I like the feeling. I like the feeling of you know, washing your hair. And my God, especially in one thing that
I think we would just all agree that it's good to have hair, and it's okay to do things that, you know, you can try to do to preserve it or to bring it back. But if all that fails, just accept it and try to tune out the people who are saying negative things, whether it's online or in person. Make sure to check out my reaction to this YouTuber's hair transplant recovery process.